It's time to end the whisper. So many suffer in silence. I might not save them all, no, but I'ma die trying. It's time to end the whisper. Never thought in my life it would happen to me, but it did, and now I'm the voice for recovery.
Welcome to Real Talk about addiction and recovery, eliminating the whisper. I'm your host, Scott Cochran, along with Jeff Breedlove. Fired up today. Ooh, I probably say that every episode, but I am excited about this one. I'm going to let Jeff introduce him, but man, you talk about this disease and you talk about some special people in this world and some things that people go through and now what they do. Whew, what a great day.
Well, Coach, thank you. And what a guest we have today. I mean, you know, Coach and I have been blessed to go all over the country and meet a lot of recovery leaders, and they're all amazing leaders, but none better and none more committed and more dedicated to service. This man leads with a servant's heart. He's Rob Banghart. He's with the Shine a Light Foundation in Las Vegas, Nevada. Did I say Nevada right, or is it Nevada?
Nevada.
I say Nevada, baby.
Nevada. You know, look, bright lights, big city. What happens there stays there. But sometimes it doesn't always stay there. Sometimes it's not about the fun and games of the casinos and the shows. And that's all great stuff. Everybody loves that. And go to Vegas and have a good time. But sometimes addiction happens in places like Las Vegas, just like it happens anywhere else. And we need champions out there who are in service to brothers and sisters in active addiction, families impacted by addiction. And our hero out there is Rob Banghart. Rob, I want you to introduce yourself. Tell us a little bit about you and who you are and what you do.
Sure. My name is Robert Banghart. I'm the VP of Community Integration for the Shine a Light Foundation. I'm also the Director of Community Engagement for Crossroads of Southern Nevada. That is the largest indigent detox and treatment center in the state.
A new health center aimed at helping those struggling with substance abuse is now one step closer to opening its doors.
Crossroads of Southern Nevada had its ribbon-cutting ceremony today. 8 News Now reporter Orko Manna is here with a look inside the facility, and it's a story you'll only see on 8 News Now.
Well, Denise and Brian, Crossroads of Southern Nevada says its two-story building will be a one-of-a-kind health center. It's located at Charleston near Rancho. Through a wide range of resources, they hope to help people battling addiction get clean and stay sober. Now, several members of the community gathered today for the ribbon cutting, including Sheriff Joe Lombardo and Mayor Carolyn Goodman. Crossroads of Southern Nevada will allow EMS personnel to drop off patients directly to the facility so treatment can start immediately. Now, the goal is to help alleviate ER crowding and keep people out of the criminal justice system. The facility will have space for nearly 200 patients. Services will include medical detox, mental health stabilization, as well as temporary and permanent housing. The man behind the mental health center says that he has been battling addiction in the past and says he knows what kind of impact Crossroads can have.
Families are reunited. People are healed. They become self-sufficient. You know, it's an incredible journey for somebody to go on, and I'm proud to be a part of it.
The health center is funded through private money and says no one will be turned away, even the uninsured. Now, they're still waiting on getting their license for the medical detox, but expect that to happen next week. And they're also expecting to have their first patients on November 12th.
I sit on a couple advisory boards for other community partners, and most importantly, I'm a person in long-term recovery since August 10th of 2018. I'm a lifelong heroin addict. I grew up in New Jersey, came out here, thought to change my life. And, you know, Vegas is a wonderful place if you're trying to do the right things, but like anywhere else, if you're not. And this is kind of where I met my end after about 5 years of homelessness. I had been attacked, hospital, stepped into recovery, and my life has been changed forever.
You know, thanks for that transparency. And you know, I tried to outrun the disease and went from Atlanta to Phoenix and Scottsdale and all over the West, you know, and so I get it about that. And I didn't ever make it to Vegas, but, you know, tell us a little bit more about, like, you're out there in Vegas and people who don't go there a lot or who've never been there, it's just all glitz and glamour. It looks wonderful, but there is an underside. There's still the real world. There's still real life. And so you're out there what's it like being in active addiction in a place as famous as Las Vegas?
Vegas is Vegas, right? There is those areas like the Strip and all that, but if you live here, there's a massive community outside of that. That is, regular people going to their jobs and doing their things. And I lived here for a long time, and I never felt at home here. I didn't grow up here. I came here in my early 20s, but it was because I was never giving back, right? I was lost in my addiction. I was, a taker. And so I never really connected with all that. And then not until I got sober, right? I got sober, I started giving back. And now it's like I went from renting to owning, right? I took ownership of my community or my part of the community and started giving back. And my whole narrative changed. Like today, I don't ever go to the Strip unless, you guys come to town, you want to go see a show. Okay. I'm not going down there by myself. You know what I mean? Not that I can't. I go anywhere I want to go, but it's just, that's a touristy spot, right? Like I go there with purpose, but that's about it. There's so much to do outside of that for me.
Well, Rob, that's one thing too that I didn't appreciate until I visited for the first time many years ago. It's, we think of Vegas as the Strip, but it's really just another American city, a great American city. But there's a whole big area, geographically speaking, communities that have nothing to do with the Strip. People living lives just like they would in Atlanta, Georgia, or Tuscaloosa, Alabama. It's not all about the Strip there. That's such a good point to remind folks that don't appreciate that. Let me ask you about this. We had the great privilege. I was out there in 2019 with our friend Ryan Hampton at Mobilize Recovery. And it was an in-person event right before COVID. And we were at the Westgate. And there was all this talk. And I was new to recovery. I was new to this activist community. And I heard these folks talking about the tunnels at the conference, talking about the tunnels. I mean, I'd never heard of the tunnels. I didn't know. We didn't go to the tunnels. I just heard about them. Well, so then I Googled them. And then I asked Ryan Hampton about them. And I began to have an appreciation for them. But thanks to your kindness and your leadership, you invited Scott Cochran, myself, my son, Jack, to join you in the tunnels. And I want to say this as you prepare to tell America a little bit about them in a much more impactful way. But every single day, my takeaway was literally underneath casinos where millions and millions of dollars are flowing. And there's nothing wrong with that. That's great. But my brothers and sisters, by mental health, addiction, co-occurring, whatever you want to say, my brothers and sisters are experiencing hell on earth. And there's not enough being done to help them. Now, Shine a Light is the leader, but where are the governments? Where's the, tell us why this exists in the first place and why Shine a Light had to step up to the plate because government wasn't doing it. You guys are saving lives. Give us the story of the tunnels in Vegas.
My name is Robert. I'm the outreach manager for Shine the Light. We're an organization that goes out to the tunnels every Saturday under the city of Las Vegas looking for anyone wanting a way out. Las Vegas has over 600 miles of tunnels and washes in our city and about 1,500 people homeless living in them. We offer them a way out through detox, housing, inpatient facilities. We bring out supplies each week to help build that relationship and then open up conversations that allow us to explain what we do.
You'd be surprised how many people care, dude. It's crazy. Like that Facebook I showed you, it's like 5,000 people donating, little stuff here and there, just trying to help out. So, how long you been out here?
5 years.
5 years.
Living out here's not as bad as what you might think.
It is, but you get used to it. But you get used to it.
Yeah.
Right? It's like that somebody got out, just like you. Just like you. I lived out here for 2.5 years. I healed from a lot of stuff I didn't even know I was hurt from. Now it's more like, how can I really affect change in my city? How can I really help people on a larger level? Trying to build something that's like legitimately going to last. So if I stepped away right now, it doesn't fall away.
I always do this, right? Whenever anybody asks me about this, I got to get to the root of the problem first, right? So what is homelessness, right? The definition of homelessness is much bigger than we think it is, right? It's all the way from that adult child that's living with you, their name's not on the lease, all the way to that guy that's staying under the bridge or under the tunnel, right? So the problem is massive, right? And we're not really honest about the problem. I think that's with a lot of problems in our society, to the depths that we need to be to really get solutions, right? So it took us, being those people with lived experience, to go through that system and have it fail us time and time again, to start to really look at it and go, okay, how do we change this, right? Because at our core, and I say this openly, right? Like, we're just a couple of heroin addicts that didn't like the way the system treated us, put some backpacks on and started rewriting the narrative, right? Like, it needed to come from people with lived experience. Not that there was only that, but it needed to be spearheaded by that, right? And in Vegas, for us, the dichotomy is so powerful. This situation is everywhere, anywhere across the country, right? We're not special. What does set us apart is the fact that we have that dichotomy that's so cut and dry, where you can literally be walking under a tunnel and there's a casino above you, right? And in Vegas, we need the tunnels. We have to. In the Southwest, the ground is completely different than other parts of the country. It's very dry. Obviously, we're in a desert, so the water doesn't go through. So small amounts of rain don't seep into the ground. They flow. So when I moved here in '99, there was one of the first news clips I saw was on a major freeway in Vegas. They were on top of their cars, right? Because the water was coming up to level. And so they built this storm drain system to help alleviate that. It runs from the northwest of the city to the southeast. There's some drainages along the way, but mostly trying to wash it through the city out to the wetlands, out to Lake Mead, because we need to also save our water, right? It's the desert. But for our unhoused friends, what happens, right? It's 120 degrees outside, or maybe it's freezing cold and windy, and there's these tunnels. It gives you the illusion that you have a roof over your head. It's a little bit cooler, a little bit warmer, whatever that is. And Scott was talking about having sunburn. You know what I mean? Like, same for them, right? Like, I can go into a tunnel and I don't have to deal with the sun beating down on me all day long, right? Like, so, and they start to cultivate communities and varying ways and directions and all that. They're all very unique, but it's very much a physical representation of a mental state of addiction. All of us were in that tunnel. All of us were in that prison. All of us were in that lost space, right? This is just a physical representation of that, how it's manifested. So
we know exactly what you're talking about when you say tunnels, because you took us to the tunnels. Can you explain what do you mean there's tunnels under Las Vegas? Like, what are you talking about? Like, there's no tunnels. There's like the subway. Can you explain? Just because when I was first told about the tunnels, I was like, I don't understand. So for the person that doesn't know about what are the tunnels for? What is the story behind them? How big are they?
So if you think about the city, it's there's about 600 miles of tunnels in our city that are meant to drain the water when it rains, snow melt, things like that. Yes, but there's every shape and size you can think of. There's some that come into each other. Like, I think about it, if you look at a tree and all the different branches and all the different, that's very much how the map looks like. And just depending on where it is.
Going beyond the tunnels in Las Vegas, it is a city where clearly there's partying going on. Alcohol, probably first and foremost, is everywhere in the nation, but also everything else. What would be like a report, an update from Vegas? What is going on out there right now with the addiction epidemic? What's the number one need? What drug is causing the most destruction? Let us, everybody's fascinated about Vegas. Tell us all what's going on there. That's the problem, and kind of what are some of the good news solutions going on out there?
Fentanyl is obviously wiping us out. You know what I mean? Like, it is everywhere. I mean, I'm getting calls every day of somebody, somewhere in the connection of our tribe out here that's, lost their battle. And that's the same as everywhere. We've seen some xylazine, but nothing too crazy yet, and all the normal staples are still around, but fentanyl definitely driving the bus. And, I think for us, what we're really worried about right now is all these cuts that are possibly coming down, and, how Medicaid's going to be affected, how SAMHSA is going to be affected, the AOC, block grants. I mean, all those. We've done a lot of amazing work out here, and I know we're not the only ones, but in building out the supportive services, right? There's all these different things, peer support, and, so many. I could go on and on and on. But those are the ones that are going to get affected first, right? And will these grants affect our drug courts? Will they affect, like, because for us, it's Shine a Light is essentially the community, right? Like, we don't own anything. We're the case managers that work and build relationships to really create an honest safety net. But if you start pulling pieces out of that safety net, that takes away our tools to help people.
Yeah, no, that's, the AARA, we did a statement about the 2026 budget. I mean, my concern and AAR's concern is there's no one's, I don't think reasonable people are opposed to looking at waste, fraud, and abuse and finding ways to run a government better and more efficiently. That's all good stuff. And any president should do that. But we also believe that $1 billion cut is the wrong, there's a lot of places to cut $1 billion in the budget, but to cut it where it's the number one cause of death for Americans 18 to 45 is not the right place. In fact, we should be expanding funding
100%.
across the board in the addiction community, from prevention to treatment to harm reduction to housing, transportation, and of course, recovery, both clinical. We need to increase funding. So
they cut $50 million from Narcan. We have just now, finally this year, reached a number where we saw a slight dip or pause, right, on the increase.
I wonder what your reaction to this is. We see headline after headline in every major publication and minor publications that talk about the reduction in overdose and poisoning deaths. And they want it to sound like it's good news. And from one perspective, it is good news. But, again, our friend Ryan Hampton and I've talked about this. It's just a false facade. There's still hundreds and hundreds of thousands of people dying. I mean,
100%.
It's good the numbers went down, but they didn't go down. They just slightly decreased. And so you're out there literally on the front lines, literally in the tunnels, every day making a difference. What would you say to an elected official or a business leader that says, "Oh, why do we have to keep funding this? The numbers are going down." What would be your response?
I mean, they're only going down because of the work that's being done, right? They're not going down from some outside thing. Like, because of this work, we're able to make a dent, right? And starting to shift that I'm a visual learner. So I always think about, with problems like this, it's a cruise liner. We're spinning the wheel as fast as we can, but that ship is only turning as it can, right? And this is a massive issue that's literally wiping out a generation. And there is amazing work being done, but like, even in the last month, I've so many phone calls of places getting shut down or losing their funding. And it's like, at this moment when we're finally able to show you some progress, right? It's not the progress that we want, but it's progress. Those are human lives. That's the point when you attack us. And I think what I've seen is that a lot of these bills that they're trying to cut, they may have an issue. Like, you pass a bill, it might be the Jeff Breedlove bill, but within that bill is, automotive, this, that, like, there's all these other things attached to it, right? And maybe they got an issue with a couple things in there. And like you said, I'm okay with that. But propose the solution so you can get rid of what you want to get rid of, but keep the things that we need, right? Instead, they're just slashing and slashing. Like, it's insane, dude. I really, a lot of fear, if I'm being completely transparent with you, that like a lot of the work that this community and communities around the country have built up is just going to be, battered.
All right. I want to take it to a different spot, the political side, Jeff's wheelhouse. My wheelhouse is how you became homeless in the tunnels yourself, you personally.
Sure. I had been sober before, right? If I fast forward a little bit, I had been sober for a couple of years, but I didn't really do I was that classic example. I came in, everything got really good, really fast. And I said, you know what? Maybe I overcorrected a little bit, or I don't need to do this, right? Other things became priorities over this thing that just saved my life. And, but I was able to hang on for a little bit, and I got married, I had a kid, and life was still relatively good. Externally, internally, I was probably dying, you know what I mean? But,
Yeah.
and then the day came. I was asked to speak at a meeting. I went, I spoke. I have no idea why they asked me to speak. I had been to a meeting a long time, and I went home that night, and my head was so loud, I put a needle in my arm. And within a month, I was homeless. I had never been homeless in my entire life. And, you know, I had told her when we got married that she could, if I ever relapsed, to run. You know, I knew exactly what kind of person I am when I use, and she did. And that lease ran out, and I just made this decision, right? I was 37 years old. And, you know, I've been an addict my entire life. I believe I was born an addict. I was always restless, irritable, discontent my entire life. And, failing that first time in recovery, I had this honest thought with myself where I said, I'm going to use like it, as if my addiction was a wild horse. I was going to break it. I was going to go as hard as I could for as long as I could until I ran it out. And, you know, clearly not understanding what the nature of what it is that I have, right? But knowing there's a problem. And I did. And my homelessness was very progressive, like my addiction. I was living in an area we call Four-Master, which is like the main hub of homelessness on the surface at the time. And I was there for a while, kind of learned how to be homeless, you know, learned the hustles and all that. And then I lived in a place called the Moulin Rouge after that, which is like a black-owned casino that's been abandoned for like 60 years. I lived there for a while. And then eventually, you know, having been homeless for a couple of years, I knew everybody. And a buddy of mine that I was on the streets with said, hey, why don't you come with me over here? And I went with them, and we went to his tunnel, which would become my tunnel. And I remember looking at it and just thinking like the same feeling I get today when I go home to my apartment, but just on the opposite side of the spectrum, right? I had found this place because when you're homeless on the surface, right, you're being harassed by police, by city services to move all the time. There's the randomness of what happens on the surface, the sun, the weather, the wind. I mean, so many variables happening at the same time. And then all of a sudden, boom, I've got a roof over my head. I've got this little community. I've got this spot where at my time, nobody was going into the tunnels. I never saw a single service the entire time I was out there underground. So it gave me that illusion. And also on the flip side, it gave me a place where I knew that I could use the way I wanted to. And you know, the last year that I was out there, I just wanted to die. I just wanted it to be over. Like I would be so mad when I woke up, like I'd have to do this all over again. Like, damn it, you know?
And now, now you're going to those tunnels to find you and try to convince, try to convince the people that there's a easier, softer way. And when you took us down there, it really opened my eyes to addiction, opened my eyes to a lot of things. And some of the stuff that you were talking about where, you just keep showing up for them, and then eventually, so when you got pulled, you talked about this, and I hope you speak on it again, but you talked about, okay, you decide I'm going to take the hand of someone such as yourself at shining light, and I'm going to go get treatment.
Yeah.
Tell me about that, how that process went from being in the tunnel, knowing what your day-to-day is, hoping you're going to die when you not wake up. Now you're like, okay, I want to get help. And now you have a bed and you have food.
Yeah. Yeah. I think for everybody, it's very different, right? I think in a general way, it's the same, but how it happens sometimes is different. For me, it wasn't a choice. That's my truth, right? I was attacked. I had been attacked by 3 other people that I was homeless with on the streets, and they hit me with the hatchet, knife, the pipe. They killed me, and I had gotten really lucky. There was a business nearby that there was an overnight security guard that I had built a relationship with over the years, and he saw it all happen, called, ambulance, Metro shows up. They pull me off the tracks. I'm dead. They revive me. I wake up. I've got, My skull's cracked, my jaw's broken, I got a knife sticking out of my leg, lacerated liver, shoes missing, trains coming at this point. I've got these medics standing over me, and I think that I was fighting them because I still thought I was fighting for my life. And they hit me with a shot of morphine. I died again, and I woke up in the hospital. I woke up in the hospital 3 days later on life support. I wake up, and the nurse is yelling at me, and she's trying to calm me down because I still think I'm fighting for my life 3 days later. And I think she hit the button, and the morphine, I felt a hand touch my forehead, and I heard the words "calm down," and then I felt the presence of God in that room. And I choose to call God, you know. And
Wow.
while I was in there that month, I had swelling of the brain so massive because they'd hit me in the head so many times with the pipe and the axe that, and I had staples in my head, and I'd almost lost my ear, and my jaw was broken, but they couldn't wire it shut because of the swelling of the brain. They were afraid I was going to throw up and puke and choke. And, you know, I had to learn how to walk and talk, and my equilibrium was off. You'd ask me a question, I'd answer it 3 minutes later. And to me, it was in real time. I had no idea, you know, and the real miracle that happened in there was that, for me, recovery showed up. Right? There was a gentleman, Paul, our director, my best friend today, I had known him before. We weren't really that good of friends, right? And I had seen him struggle. Well, I went out, he came in, he builds a beautiful life. My mom had been coming out to Vegas looking for me periodically throughout my homelessness. Had connected with Paul. Long story short, we found him. He's in the hospital. Paul comes. Paul sits down, and he didn't beat me over the head with recovery, right? He didn't tell me I'm going to do the steps or die. It wasn't none of that stuff. It was just like, hey, listen, like if you want to take a shot, I got a scholarship for you. And I just said, okay. You know what I mean? In that moment, I knew not that I was ready to go, you know, dive into recovery again. Like it had failed me in my mind at that point, right? I'm way too selfish to take ownership at that point. But but I knew that if I went back, I was 120 pounds. I looked like Skeletor on a bobblehead doll. You know what I mean? Like I knew if I went back, I was going to die. And like maybe those guys are going to, you know, there was real tangible evidence that like this was not going to turn out well. So I said, okay. You know, when I got out of that hospital, I went to a treatment center called Freedom House. Freedom House, they scholarshiped me for 30 days. I couldn't get in at first. I couldn't get medically cleared. And this is kind of what really inspired me to fall in love with Shine was that they put me in a car. They took me to a sober living, which was Nick's house, which is Garrett's house in Vegas. I went there for a couple of days, and while I was there, we had the house meeting that's still going on to this day every Thursday night. And the owner of Freedom House, who's gone on to become a dear friend and family to me, and Paul were there. And Paul told him, hey, this is the guy I was telling you about. Boom. Next day, I was back at Freedom House. I started my journey. I was there 30 days while there. It's an inpatient facility. So I think there was like 12 or 13 people there at the time that I was there. So I was kind of able to take on the world in smaller pieces, right? Like I hadn't used a phone in 5 years. I hadn't watched TV in 5 years. I hadn't been socially interactive with anybody on an honest level in 5 years. I hadn't used a watch in 5 years, showered in 5. I mean, the list goes on. Everything that I do today, you know, I can't live my life today without Google Calendar. I'd be lost, you know?
Right.
So my life was very primal. It was very like, what's next, right? Like true addiction. And I started there. While I was there, that's where Shine was based up at the time. At the time, it was like 4 or 5 volunteers coming every weekend, and I just saw what they were doing, and I felt called to do it, you know? And in doing it, really what happened was like, you know, you kind of touched on it earlier, right? I give and I get. You know what I mean? Like if I give, I will get. I don't know how I'm going to get, and that's not my business. But like, if I focus on giving, and really what happened for me was that I recovered on a deeper therapeutic level by going back out on the other side of the coin and like facing those things right away. And I understand that's not everybody's path. Like, and I respect that too, you know. But for me, that just was like I felt very called to do it. Everybody around me was of service and going out and doing those things, so I just did it, and I never stopped.
Rob, let me ask you a question. It's not a policy question, Coach. It is a cultural, social question. But it is one that I think, and this is real talk, and you are listening, by the way, to Real Talk about addiction and recovery, eliminating the whisper with Coach Scott Cochran and Jeff Breedlove. Our special guest, Rob Banghart from Las Vegas with the Shine a Light Foundation. And Rob, you know, that's I was just riveted by the authenticity of what you were just saying. For 5 years, you were not in what people would say is normal society. You were in isolation, if you will, but that was still, you weren't isolated. You were just off the daily day grid. And there's stigma within stigma within stigma. So what would you say to somebody who's listening to this podcast? And honestly, I mean, raw talk, might have a fear of approaching a man or a woman that might be unhoused, and they're not ready for that. I mean, looking at you today, yeah, your ear and your body healed itself and your spirit healed itself, but there might be some hesitation from folks to reach out to our brothers and sisters who are unhoused. What would you say to respect that concern and that observation, but give them peace that they can get through that hesitation?
Great question. I always use this example again. Like we all have that gas station, right? That gas station by our house that we use on the way to work or whatever it is. And I have one. And there's this gentleman outside. I'm not going to say his name, but he's always out there, right? I see him. He asks me for money. I don't give out money. That's just my personal thing. I'm not telling anybody else what to do. But what I always do is make sure he feels seen and heard. I say hello. I offer to bring him inside, get him a drink, whatever it is, right? So for months, he's, hey, whatever, but paying me no mind unless I'm going to give him some money. Okay, no problem. Hey, how are you doing? What's going on, buddy? I constantly just trying to look for a way to get to him, right? Last time I went there, maybe, I don't know, it was like 2-3 months ago, and he says yes, and he gets up and he comes inside. And I had one of the most beautiful interactions with this man. It was like I was there with my best friend. We were laughing, we were joking. He's positive, he's smiling. I mean, it was just, I still think about it. My hair stands up in my arms. It was so beautiful. I go to the register, I buy him a pack of cigarettes, I turn around, I give him the bag. He starts to walk towards the door. I turn back to the register, and he starts yelling and runs out of the store. Like he's yelling at me, yelling whoever, and runs out of the store. And the guy behind the register starts laughing. He's like, "Why'd you do that?" And I was like, because it was the right thing to do. Like, I don't want to live in a world where somebody having an authentic interaction is so uncomfortable to them because no one's ever done it, that their only reaction is to yell, scream, and run away. Like, the world is about connection. It's about connecting with people. So I wouldn't tell anybody what to do. I would say in a general way, connect. Whatever you feel comfortable with. It could be a smile, it could be a wave. Like I think about like Boy Scouts and Girl Scouts, how they wear all those badges, right? When they earn different things. It's like, if I looked at any of our recovery journeys and took all the people that impacted us, all the facilities and whatever it is for everybody, right? Like thousands of badges, hopefully. And that's the point. That's what I want. And as a community, we should want the same things. They are a part of our community, just like you are. They are, right? Like, that's somebody's brother, that's somebody's sister, uncle, all the things. And like, they're sick. So how we treat them is an indication of who we are, not who they are. They're in crisis. When I have a headache, am I the nicest person in the world? When I'm sick, am I the most friendly person in the world? No, I mean, a baby crisis. Now imagine a real crisis where, and I'm disassociated, right? That's the nature of what we have. We are disassociated. Like, I lived in the same city, but not the same society. It's just completely different. So how do we bridge that gap? How do we do that? It's love, it's kindness, it's connection, it's authenticity. It's just, and not with any expectation.
I'm going to hand it off to Coach, but I want to say that again. You lived in the same city, but not the same society.
Yeah.
That's powerful right there. That's power right there.
Your favorite or your best story of saving someone's life, and yes, you're saving their lives, so you can't get around that.
Yeah.
But your best story, the one that like, okay, this one is the reason why I come back every single day.
I would never take credit for that. I'm just going to be
I
honest
know
with
you wouldn't. I knew it.
Yeah,
That's why I
won't.
said it.
Only because I believe that as a foundation and as a recovery community, we're all working together. And
Right.
no one's tallying up the score sheet of, hey, maybe you might have talked to them over there and nobody else knows, and that made them more comfortable to come talk to me. So I say that with humility, not that,
Yeah.
If I had to individualize something that as an outreach organization we did that's personal to me is Danica. Danica came in, she was with us for a while. She left, she was out there, and she was kind of, I think we all have in that recovery community, right? We get one guy out, well, he's got this friend, her sister, and da. Like we were all interwoven, kind of like 7 degrees of Kevin Bacon, right? And so she was in that weave, and she was dating a brother of another one of our friends. So it was doubly connected, and they were out there, and he had gotten locked up, so she was out there by herself now. So we are mobilizing. We're hitting different spots that we think she's at different days, trying to almost trick her, right? Like, because they're used to us coming out on Saturdays. And I ran into her one day on a Saturday. I had the head of all judicial drug courts of Las Vegas with us, just randomly. And Paul, myself, and I walked, and she was in a group of people, kind of in a wash. And when I saw her, she gave me this look that was like this. Like she wanted me to help her, but she couldn't do it. So when I looked at her, she went to say something. I said, get your shit. I didn't even give her an opportunity. I've never said it before, and I've never said it since. And she said, okay. She went and got her stuff, got in the car with our friend and gone. And now she's our wings case manager, killing the game, runs one of our sober livings for us. Like, about to get her kids, has one of her kids back, about to get her second kid back, just got approved. So like killing it. I mean, killing it. But that was a team effort holistically, and it's been a team effort ever since.
Right. I knew that would be hard. I knew it. You couldn't take any credit. I know, but I get it. It's community, and you couldn't help but my personal feel when I went down the tunnels with you just for that day. You couldn't help but feel like, man, we had heard the story of, a guy that had been down there, I think he said it was 10 years, and it first started as he lost his luggage, at the airport. And then he got mugged, and he had nowhere to go and nowhere to turn. I guess it was a hurricane in Puerto Rico or something.
Yeah. So the client participant that came out before me was a gentleman named Eddie. Eddie was in a tunnel by the Las Vegas sign, the classic Las Vegas sign on the south side of town. And Paul walked up to him, first time he saw him, I said, hey, you want to get off the streets? I can help you. He said, okay. So I call Eddie the unicorn, because very rarely do you have that, right? And where they actually stay. First time stayed, still doing great. So Eddie was a veteran, born in Puerto Rico before 1965. So all of his documentation at the courthouse was at paper. Hurricane comes through, wipes it out. He doesn't know, comes to Vegas, gets his luggage stolen at the airport. Now he can't even prove that he's legitimate, right? So that Paul pulls him out. He came in about a month before me, scholarshiped him in Freedom House for 2 years while we worked on getting his documentation. He went on to work at Freedom House, still works. I just saw him Monday. I do a panel there Monday mornings. He still working there, just work until he retires. He's got independent housing. You know what I mean? Like, he's a veteran. Like, he should be comfortable, right? Like, beautiful.
Yeah. Love that.
In the system as it's designed, Eddie's homeless right now.
Yeah.
Shine a light. Tell us more about the foundation itself, because I appreciate your humility that it's not you, it's a team. So tell our listeners and viewers who've never heard of Shine the Light Foundation what its broader mission is, and how it started and how they can support it.
Sure. So it's actually a really great story. Shine a Light was founded by a gentleman named Matt O'Brien. Matt O'Brien was an author, investigative reporter that was doing a story on a gentleman named T.J. Weber. T.J. Weber had killed his family and escaped the dragnet through the tunnels. So Matt goes, as part of the book, goes underground, and runs into our friends. He starts to cultivate friendships as he's doing the book, and he starts to, bring them cheeseburgers, get to know them, help them out, give them I mean, a lot of little things, right? But Matt didn't really have the piece to get them off the streets. He could drop them off somewhere. He could get them connected somewhere. So he did a lot of advocacy work, shining a light on the issue, because at that time it was very much, don't affect tourism, all that. So fast forward about 8 or 9 years later, he is writing his second book on the tunnels and interviews Paul. And then like 2 weeks later goes, hey, listen, I got a job in El Salvador. Do you want this? And just hands him a map. And that's really what it was, a name and a map. At the time, Paul's working at Freedom House with Jeff. They start to culminate the idea of, okay, well, what do we do if they want help? How do we walk them through this process? How do we keep them close, right? Like, how do we keep track of them, right? Like, and support them. So started just the real low end fundraising, scholarships, and, it was Facebook posts for all kinds of stuff. And, started to build out what would be iPath. So Shine a Light as an organization is two-part. What we're known for more publicly is the outreach, right? It's outreach in the tunnels, washes the community. Because of that dichotomy we talked about earlier, outreach for us also means who are we in the community? What example are we setting? What events are we at? What events are we hosting, right? Where are we at? Where can our friends find us, right? Like, and then also individually, like, what are we doing with our lives? Are we a good example to these people that these amazing things are possible, right? Because when I came in, I saw Jeff and Paul, and that was what it was for me, right? And second piece is, okay, they accept help. What do we do? We have a program called iPath. It's instant placement with access to treatment and housing. That program means they call within an hour is the goal to get them into a facility, into a detox where they are clinically and medically assessed, triage first, to see what level of care they're appropriate for based on a licensed professional. From there, it's detox, ideally, if not, straight into housing or with treatment or inpatient. So there's a couple options happening. And the MCOs kind of drive the bus on that, unfortunately, right? Like what places accept what. But for the most part, we utilize Crossroads, but we have a lot of amazing community partners. And then different treatment centers, and then from there into sober living. The goal is this. The point is continuity case management, right? So I said to you earlier, Shine doesn't own anything. Shine doesn't own a treatment center, doesn't own a sober living. We own some in our personal lives, but Shine a Light as a foundation is case managers that are walking people through this process. So we're the bridge miners, right? We're the people that lived experience that have gone out into the community and pulled together an honest track, right, for people to walk through to get into independent housing and security. That's a lot. I said that very simply, but that's a lot. It's a lot of moving pieces. Like we were talking about Garrett earlier and how Bucks County, and it's, the struggles they're having there. For us, it's the other end of the spectrum, right? There's a ton of things going on here. So our I wouldn't say difficulties, but our work is in highlighting all of it because it's such a massive thing, right? There's so many different pieces because just like Vegas, the vices are extreme. The recovery is extreme here too. You know what I mean? We have a massive recovery community. So it's a lifestyle for us, right? And
well, we saw you arranged, I don't remember all the details, but we went to Crossroads and met the team and saw the facility. And of course, saw everything we saw while we were there and what a blessing that was and how impressive that is. And we went to Mission High School, which certainly, was one of the foundational efforts in the United States. So you're right. And what impressed? Well, what it didn't. Let me wind that back. I don't want to say what impressed me the most, but I want to say this. What I thought was fascinating was we went to a meeting house in a strip mall, and next to it was a recovery store.
Yeah.
And then the meeting house. And you know what I thought was so awesome was the signage was just like every other store in the strip house. They weren't set apart in a negative way. It was just normalized. It was okay to be there. It could have been a shoe store or a pizza house. It was just another building that was perfectly normal to be a part of. And, you don't see that all over the country. So I love that you shared with us if the vices are an extreme one way, there's some extreme recovery and other things going on. Thank you for that. Let me ask you this. When I think about this epidemic, I think about policy, but I also think about people. And so that's the two extremes too. And you sort of bridge that gap between helping people individually, but also y'all are, whether you like it or not, you are a leader and you're in a group that is respected. How did you navigate that back in the day? What you said that we don't want to hurt tourism, and now there are folks embracing what y'all are doing. Tell us about that journey.
I mean, personally, I think that for me, it was just stepping into my own power, right? Like, the reality is that for me, what I've seen, and I know it's similar for a lot of people in our foundation, is that like advocacy is massively important, right? If you recover out loud, you put a voice and a face to these experiences where they can't be shushed, right? And there's a lot of great people out there that just don't know, just don't know until you put it in their face, until you talk to them about that, till you're touching them and they can see the scars on your head from when you were attacked and now you're doing this, or they see you in these rooms that a homeless guy is not supposed to be in, an addict's not supposed to be in, right? Until we are, right? And or to be there and then to not even know, and then to find out later and go, oh my God, I didn't know that was your story. And you're like, yeah, like we do recover. It's no big deal, right? Like,
well, when Coach, and this is my handoff to Coach, when we first met, his whole thing that he taught me was, so I want to eliminate the whisper. And then you did that a minute ago too, about the way it used to be. So it doesn't matter if it's 2023 or 4, or if it's back in the day, a couple of decades ago, there's always been that whisper. And now we got Shine a Light Foundation in Nevada. We got Coach Scott Cochran with AARA. It's just amazing how we're still fighting the whisper a little bit. Coach, take us to our next place.
Yeah, it's just amazing, right? We're all miracles in our way. And you had some numbers when we were at Shine a Light. You had some numbers of people that have recovered or have gotten into the system. Can you share any numbers with us of people that have gotten help, or can you share some of those?
well, yeah, I mean, this past weekend we had our third graduation, 65 graduates. Right now we have about 300. That's 65 people that were unhoused 18 months ago.
18 months ago.
18 months ago. We had right now about 350 active clients. We are about 1,700 total we touched in the last 7 years. And yeah, I mean, every weekend our outreach teams are doing amazing. The case manager is doing great in the community. So it's like, I mean, anywhere from 10 to 15 new clients a week, easily. And we're only growing, right, by 100%, 200%, 300. It's like the need is there, right? And I think what we did well was we connected the community. Like I think I used that analogy when you guys were out here, right? It's like if I bought all the best pieces for an engine that you could possibly physically buy, but I didn't put it together, it doesn't matter. And that's the problem, right? The system out here, at least out here, and I'm sure it's not very different anywhere, is like it's not designed to work together. It's designed to work the way it's designed, but that doesn't serve us in the long term, right? At the time it was designed, we're doing reentry. It's 18 months, our program. That's 18 months. Like, and even at that, right? Like 18 months you're still a year and a half sober. Like that's still some shaky ground, but at least by then you've got a ton of support. You're connected, like, right? Like, so for me, it's all reentry, prison, jail, homelessness, mental, it's all reentry into a healthy lifestyle. And we've just been able to utilize the city, which is beneficial to our partners, beneficial to our city, beneficial to our clients, right? So it's just like a constant give and support that I think that fire, once it built up within our community, now is just growing out of control. It's beautiful.
Well, we were right up on it. And, Robert Banghart with Shine a Light Foundation, Las Vegas. What I want to ask you is, I know you have a website, right?
Yes, sir.
What's the website?
robertbanghart.org.
Okay. The Shine a Light is on social media. I know that because I follow them.
Yeah.
So I know you're on Facebook.
Yeah.
Other platforms that folks can find you at?
We're on the TikToks, the Instagrams, the Facebooks. We got a website for Shine also, shinealightov.com. It's a great tool. You know, I believe personally for me that's a part of advocacy as well, right? Is showcasing like my social media is and ours is who we are 100%.
Right.
There's no, but it's also great to tell the stories of our partners and the people and where we're at. So it's a great tool in this day and age.
Well, I want everybody listening, watching to find Shine a Light Foundation on social media at the platform of your choice. And I want you to like them and follow them. I want you to engage with them. And I know, because I've done it, they have a donation button. And you can give them $5. That's a blessing. You give them 500, 5,000, 5 million, whatever you're blessed to give. But $5 is fine. But make a donation to them, because let me tell you what I know $5 does. $5 will get a flashlight, maybe a bag, maybe some Kleenex, maybe just, you don't have to buy everything. You can buy one thing for one person, and there's people ready, willing, and able to walk into those tunnels and help those folks, but help fund their good work, because I know firsthand it goes right to helping people. So find Shine a Light. Robert, you truly are, you're a modest brother in recovery, but you are the tip of the spear. You're part of a great team, and you're making a great difference, not just in Las Vegas, but across the country. Coach, take us out.
No, I mean, incredible. Always great to connect. And thank you so much for coming on. This is real talk about addiction and recovery, eliminating the whisper.
Thank you, Rob.
Thank you, guys. Appreciate you.
It's time to end the whisper. So many suffer in silence. I might not save them all, no, but I'ma die trying. It's time to end the whisper. Never thought in my life it would happen to me, but it did. And now I'm the voice for recovery.